With the Steam Summer Sale currently going on, there are a plethora of games to get for a pretty good discount, and yes, that includes a wide array of early access titles as well. This brings us to Hellish Quart, a 3D weapons-based fighter that has been on my wishlist for a while. It takes place during the 17th century of the Poland-Lithuania Commonwealth. The big appeal to me is the historical approach it takes compared to the more fantasy titles like Soul Calibur. Plus, it's heavily inspired by the old PS1 classic Bushido Blade, meaning that no health bars and any hit can be a fatal one. Is this game worth purchasing? Let's find out. Before you get into fighting, I'd recommend that you watch the tutorial videos before you start. And yes, they're only videos at the moment, 2 videos, one explaining the controls and the other one explaining tactics that you can employ. I hope that there is a more involved tutorial system in the future. I didn't see it in the roadmap that they've provided, but I'm hoping we can get an actual tutorial system. And I would also recommend that you use a controller, as games of this ilk just play better that way and feel far more natural than on a keyboard. Currently in the game there are 7 characters to choose from with their own fighting style, and the game plans to have at least 12 unique fighting styles, but with much more characters than that. Once you pick your characters, you pick your arena depending on the game mode, and you're ready to fight. And as expected, this is basically the highlight of the game because the fighting is very intense with how each strike can be a fatal one, and you can be severely punished if you just go in trying to button mash, as you'll run out of stamina, and you'll also create openings for your opponent to take advantage of. And for certain AI settings, they'll definitely take advantage of it, so you have to be very careful. But also being too defensive could also get you tired, because you can't guard forever. You automatically block when you're not attacking, but if you keep getting hit and trying to block, eventually you'll let your guard down because you'll get tired and an opening will be created. So you always have to switch between being on the attack and being on the defensive. But it's important to note too that even though you block automatically, the AI can still get through your blocks, especially if they're really close to you. So as I stated earlier, it's very reminiscent of Bushido Blade as well as Nikhod for a more modern example. Certain non-fatal strikes can also happen to slow down your opponent to make it so they can't move. I find it's not as rare, it's not as common as Bushido Blade, but it does happen. Honestly, there's a lot of options for each character to play with, and knowing how they fight, their style, their strengths and weaknesses is key to victory, and it's a lot of fun discovering each character and playing with their weapons. I would say the other big appeal to me, not only for the historical accuracy, but the fact that they actually practice HEMA for the motion capture. And basically what HEMA is historical European martial arts. They have practitioners and stuff. I'm not an expert on the field, so I can't really go deep and explain it, but basically that, they use real weapons and weapons accurate to the time period. So they were hired for the motion capture, and it's easily noticed with every swing, and also during the victory animations. It just looks so smooth and realistic as a result. The sound effects are also very satisfying when the swords clash. The music is also really well done, and the soundtrack is not completed yet, but I really like what I'm hearing so far. With the different influences of the time and the different instruments that are used. A lot of fun and very atmospheric. Definitely enjoy it. Overall, it's just a great effort on the presentation side. Also with the character models are very detailed, as well as the environment. So overall, it looks great. Now, this wouldn't be a Powerhouse review, an early access review, if I didn't complain about something. That's how it goes here. I do have some minor gripes with combat, nothing too major. But certain characters are definitely easier to win with compared to others. What I found out is that range dominates. Marie with her rapier, which is the character I used to play as, she's the one with the cool hat, and Isabella with her longsword. What I can gather with my very limited knowledge on HEMA, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But don't attack me. Is that range usually wins out in these kind of fights? It's just a general thing, which is probably why there aren't any polearm users. As much as I would like to see a polearm user, I don't think that's something that can be reasonably balanced, because you can just stand back and just poke your enemy all day if you had a halberd, and getting close would be a real challenge. So if you play as a character with a short sword, you'll really be disadvantaged. Although it's still possible to win with a shorter ranged opponent with good skills. If evade very well, or if you try to get close and slap the weapon and create openings for yourself, you can still win. So it's not like you're gonna lose if you go against someone with a longer weapon, but it is, it is harder to win with a short sword. So just keep that in mind. So one of the big things that may put off a lot of people, though, is that there's just not much content so far. But we'll go through some of the modes here. So the game includes a survival mode, and it's basically you defeat as many opponents as possible without being struck down. It's a typical mode for this genre, but it fits far better in this game than others, just because it's a one-hit kill and not like, having to take down a health bar, barely coming out one fight alive, and then having one health, and then your opponent has like a huge amount. So it works better in this game than in other fighting games. But you do need to win 8 in a row in order to unlock another character, but that's really it. The mode that I ended up spending the most time with was history buff mode. Basically are just endless duels. Each fight changes the player character, the AI, and the arena, sometimes the amount of rounds as well. And winning a fight grants a historical fact for you to look at. It's fun for the history buffs of the world, although sometimes a blank fact will show up, so it is what it is. There's also the all famous practice mode, which you can play with a friend or with a computer, and it actually involves using wooden weapons, so I find pretty cool. And it actually does feel like a spar, because the would-be fatal strikes are signal to your opponent. So if you hit someone in the head, they'll tell the opponent, hey, you hit me here, and then they'll kind of reset back into position. Unfortunately, there aren't any real options to play with. You can't really like change the AI like mid-game or anything. You can change the AI like when you select them, and also the sharpness of the sword for versus AI, but you can't really you can't change like, okay, are they just gonna stand still and I'm gonna hit them, or vice versa. You can't really change any of that for practice. Also, there is an online mode that anyone can play even though they don't own the game via Steam Link Remote Play, and also this Zebo client or whatever it's called. I'll correct it. It's just invite only, and you can't really play with random people. So hopefully as things develop, we can get an actual proper online multiplayer and actually play with some random people, because just doing it invite only is definitely going to limit the game's appeal. With everything considered about this game, it's surprisingly bug free. I had a few graphical hiccups here and there, as every game does, and sometimes the physics will give up for like a millisecond, but nothing game breaking at all. It also ran pretty smooth as silk at 60 frames per second, so can't complain there. There's also a roadmap that you can view in the main menu, but it's not very detailed. It just lists some planned features out, but I'm not sure when it'll happen. It's kind of just unclear on that, in that regard, but I honestly still appreciate it for being here. So anytime there's a roadmap, give it a thumbs up. Alright, so as much as I enjoyed this game, the severe lack of content really prevents me from fully recommending it. However, I would recommend to watch very closely and jump in if the game has enough staying power for you. If you already like what you see here and feel like you'll get a good amount of time, or you're ready to support, and really bank on the future, then go ahead. If not, if you want to wait a little bit, wishlist the hell out of this, because I'd recommend everyone to wishlist it just to see like the progress of it, because I'm telling you, the combat is incredibly satisfying. It's a lot of fun pulling off moves, getting that strike in, because fights can range from like 5 seconds to like 10 minutes. Like, it's crazy, just trying to get that one fatal strike. So it's a lot of fun in that regard. The game just has a ton of potential, and I'm really curious to see how the new characters will play out and what other weapons they implement into the game. I really like what's going on here, and so definitely support these guys. But again, I wouldn't recommend to jump in right away, or if you are gonna buy this game, don't go into it thinking you're gonna put like hundreds of hours or anything like that. It's still a long way to go, but if you want to support it for what it is, you can. It is on sale, Steam summer sale as the time of this recording, for around 12 bucks. So if that's a good price for you, go ahead, definitely do it. If you want to wait a little bit, like I said, wishlist it and you should be good to go. A bit of a ramble there, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And as always, thank you for watching, This is Powerhouse, signing off.